A little impromptu live for you guys here. We've got the camper. I'll just kind of do a quick once over on the progress. Let's throw this thing up on my tripod here. All right. Push forward. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to be doing some sanding. Progress is a little slow right now, which is normal. It's just mostly a lot of finish work, but I did get the rear area here where the AC will sit finished up. So let's see, I think this is a pretty good angle here. So this is the AC, where the AC pod will fit, and actually what's behind this plastic right here is the air conditioner. And then I'll put a fuel tank right here when it's all done, and give it a little bit of a look. And the tailgate will shut below this, so this will not interfere. And then stand by real quick. And then you guys will probably notice that up here, the upper vent is already in place, and this is recessed behind this little overhang here. When I put the coating on it, I'll just have to be careful and coat around it, because there's not a way for me to install this without it. And then on the side angles, the vents will sit here like this. This camper will be white. Right. What's going on, my friend? What's going on? Saw your email. Everything is looking good. Mike, how's it going? So 1CM King, or at least that's how it shows up on my side. I did get your email. Your camper is looking really good. Thanks for subbing, Wodat. Nice addition on, and then just like on the last camper, the door will fit right here. So I think. I think this thing angling like this, even though it sticks out, basically just about as much, I think it gives it perceptually a little bit. It doesn't look like it sticks out quite as much as it maybe did on 8.0. This angle of this top piece is pretty steep here. I think it'll look okay when it's done. So as you guys can see, a lot of finish sanding. So basically, I still have to make the door, and there's a few odds and ends, but most of my work until I get the coating on is going to be, just going through and doing a lot of sanding and filling in spots. And 1CM, well, I'm glad I could inspiration, or I could be an inspiration to you, but you're the one who did all the work. Dr. Vales, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope the camper turns out well. It's kind of a different design than what I've done before. I've talked about this in length, but it's so hard to kind of imagine, what it'll actually look like when it's on the truck. So, you know, it's a bit of a leap of faith. And I mean, obviously, you know, you can kind of see what it looks like, but I will tell you this. Um, when you slide this out, so when I get the coating on, I'm going to slide it out of the garage, take a look at it, you know, get a lot of natural direct light on it. There'll probably be some more sanding or little repairs I have to do, and I'm prepared for this. I'll throw a little bit more. I'll throw another coat of coating on there if I have to. But it's funny, in the garage it kind of looks big. I'll slide it out in the driveway, it'll look kind of small, and then when you prop it up on the truck, it actually looks small again. So I'm really curious. It's a very, very interesting design. So, all right. Well, I appreciate the encouragement, Dr. Bales. The AC pod looked great, and how nice it flows with the rest. So I appreciate that. I hope so. All right, guys. Well, I'm just gonna get in here and start doing some finish sanding, so you guys can see the work in progress. I'll come back and check the comments here. So feel free to post any questions or any other comments or however you guys want, and I'll be coming back and forth. So thanks for tuning in, though. It's I'm always amazed. What am I at? 28 people right now. That's impressive just for turning it on. So I appreciate all you guys tuning in. That means a lot. So, but let's get to it. right, what do we got? Johnny, it's good to see you, buddy. Nice to see you. I appreciate all your support there, my friend. You're always commenting. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, Johnny. All right, what do we got going on here? Mike, have an appointment. We'll catch up next time. Thanks, Mike, for popping in. Conscious Machine, awesome. Let's see. Let's see. The live video really shows and demonstrates how time-consuming really it is. I think I was roughly 9 months building mine. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely takes a lot of time. I'll admit I take it easy too. I definitely try to keep a consistent schedule, but you know, I'm not knocking myself out. But yeah, they definitely take time. And you know, it's all about you know, getting in there and you know, taking a little extra time. And there's a lot of things that can be done quicker, but I just don't think it would turn out quite as nice. Off-grid desert dwellers. I'm very interested in how you build the air conditioner box. I want to see how it's support the unit. I'm about to build one of my own box for a truck build. You know what? That's actually a good question. So let's talk about this little AC pod unit here. All right. So yeah, these AC units. This one right here is actually just a 5,000 BTU, but I think it's I think they're still about 35 pounds. So that's a fair amount of weight. You know, particularly when you think of this thing bouncing around a little bit. Sorry, I'm just looking at the image here, making sure that it's capturing everything the way it should be. Okay, so this one is actually really well supported. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to make sure I get just the right angle here to make sure you guys are seeing everything. Okay. So this one worked out really well. Down here at the bottom, I don't know if you guys can notice, but you got this little angle here. So this actually kind of comes out from the main body, and this is meant to be an extended foot box because the bed on the inside will be immediately behind this. You know, it's not a huge one, but it gives you a couple extra inches. Now I'm mentioning this because this is significant. So let me take this on the inside here, and then we're going to come back on the outside, but I think it might help here. Like all things, I mean, there's no set pattern. I think about every AC box I've made has been kind of different, but you guys will get a view here. So this is looking on the inside. The easiest way to describe this one is, so this upper platform here, I guess you would call this a torsion box. It has a 1-inch cedar frame, and it's the 1/4-inch ply on either side. And I actually filled this up with insulation, with thin slit and insulation inside of here. And down here is, zoom in so you guys can see, this is a mini torsion box. It's only, what was that? I think that's 4.5 or 5 inches long. But that's kind of the foundation of this. So if you guys remember before, this opening was just a big void, right? So what I did though is I actually built these torsion boxes in place, but I probably should have made them kind of as a modular unit like I did. No, actually I did make them as a modular unit, meaning, because if you guys remember, I in the last live I was cutting the board for the top of this. So I made both of these, okay? So they're kind of like two little you know, flat horizontal areas. And then I attached them in between the main cedar structural parts here, and then I built everything around it. Let me walk out here. The reason I'm telling you all this is this is going to highlight why this one is so strong here. don't want to get too distracted, but Methodical Dillard, where does the water going when it drips from the air conditioner? Get to the point. Yeah, no surprise. I always have somebody like that on there. I'll come back to the drainage of the AC in a second. So what this does, I've talked about shear a lot. This piece right here, and this is the point, this piece right here was one piece. Now obviously I cut out the hole for where the vent will sit. But what this does is when this was attached to both the top, to both this bottom section and this section, is it made a very rigid platform. This is very strong. Very, very strong. There's a lot of filling in of various pieces, so you know, when I mount the 1/4 inch plywood, it has a good surface to actually mount to, especially these angled pieces up here. But in terms of that strength, which was your main question, and it's when I was initially designing these and building these myself, that was the one of the big considerations I had. This is by far the strongest one I had, because I see what you're talking about. You got 35 pounds up here. Is this thing going to flex when it's moving? And I think adding something to the bottom, and especially if you can shear it in with one continuous piece here, that's going to make it really strong. Where are we at here? Off grid. Does that? I hope that helps. Let me know. There's a lot of little intricacies. I mean, I just kind of figured this out when I made it, but I hope that helps. Who's that? Your explanation always make me learn something new. Okay, good, good. So off-grid living, I hope that's helpful. We can walk back in and look at the framing on the inside, and I'll try to explain what I meant. So you can kind of think of it as two ways. We have the big structural piece, which starts off with the 2 horizontal pieces. This bottom piece, this piece. Those attach in between the 2 structural members here. Once that's in place, I made, this was just a frame. It wasn't a horizontal torsion box, but this bolt, or this screwed in up here. So you essentially have 3 tiers. And then from there, I just started building in the vertical framing. Let's walk on the inside and we'll take another look here. Ugh. So like down here at the bottom, so this is part of that vertical framing, and this ties in this upper piece with this bottom piece. Yeah, I can back up. And I apologize, guys. Usually I use my wide angle lens a lot, but I'm on my phone here, so I can't. But that's about as far back as I can get because I got to hold the phone. Sorry about that. Now, one thing to consider. Let me. Do you guys want me to get another light in here? I think it's fine. So see this piece right here? Because I'm going to attach that fuel tank on the back side there, it's going to have a Rotopax mount, which can bolt through or screw through. So one thing you guys got to consider, I mean, this is a very specific use case, but this is a big piece of maple hardwood here. I placed this in there, that way it had a nice mounting position. But let's scroll in a little bit here, and the reason I'm doing that is these vertical pieces, when I knew I was going to be mounting the 1/4 inch plywood on here, I had to ensure that I had enough material so it could attach. So this piece right here, this is not necessarily structural, but it had to be there so when I mount the 1/4 inch plywood on the outside, it has a nice surface to mount to, because we don't want anything to loosen up, because that's how you'll get cracks in those joints. You guys can see up here on that angled top, these are pieces that came up and filled in that angle. And then you guys can see where I'm touching right here. Remember I told you it was 3 tiers. The upper tier was just a frame. This is that upper tier frame section that kind of wraps around here. Now I made it a little long, and I left these sticking out. I can always trim these off later, but I'm going to leave them in place because that might come in handy. What I will likely do is on when I start on phase 2, which is working on the interior. You know, the AC is going to sit roughly here. I might actually trim off this and make this a little shorter. But what I'll do is I'll make a cabinet, kind of a U-shaped cabinet right here. And this will actually slide over the top of the AC. It will seal off the back side, so it'll seal off the evaporator side from the condenser side. You know, that way when it's sucking air for the condenser, it's not pulling it from the inside. And then I'll create this cabinet and I'll attach it in a way to where if I ever had to service or replace this AC, I can unbolt the cabinet. It's a little hard to visualize. If any of you guys were watching me build 8.0, the AC pod was built a little bit different, but in a broad general sense, it was the same thing. Let me read some of these comments here. So for me to apply these ideas in my box build, I could build a bookcase-like structure to hold it up, the part of the unit that sticks out to the outside. I'm not sure how to secure that part. So it just kind of comes down to what your outside is looking like. And it's really hard for me to answer that, but I'll explain kind of how I did mine. And watching from Dubai, huh? What's the temperature in Dubai? If you could convert it to Fahrenheit for me, if you know off the top of your head, that'd be helpful. I'm always curious about how hot it is in the Middle East at any given time. But back to the question of how to attach this. So in my case, I had the 2 vertical structural members, and when I built this top frame, the bottom floor, and this bottom one, I made them so that they slid right in between, and then I drove screws in this way and this, you know, in each side, so that they're attached in here. And then of course when you start putting in the vertical framing that ties it in, and then particularly this singular piece right here, which provides the shear strength, so it's not going to flex up and down. That's that you know, where it adds all that strength. If let's say you had just a flat wall, right? And I'm just thinking out loud here, and you just, you know, you cut your opening for your AC, and then kind of like 8.0, you're just going to kind of build the box on the outside. Let's see. Give me a second to think how I did the 8.0 one. So I think I basically did the same thing, as I would build a flat plane here that the AC actually sits on. I think that's a nice starting point, because that's going to give you all of your dimensions. And when you cut that hole and you slide it in, you know, whether you used a Craig jig or if there was a way from the structural member underneath that you could screw it in, that's going to give you that initial foundation, and then you just kind of build up the framing from there. If my memory serves me, on one camper, I kind of built the box, and then on the sides, I put a piece of hardwood, which was attached to the main box, and then of course I made sure that hardwood lined up with the structural frame member on the camper, and I screwed it in that way. And that would be another way. There's not one right answer. I think it just all kind of comes down to you know, what you can fit in place. Let me read. 104. Okay, and that's in Dubai. So yeah, I think we got up in the high 90s in Las Vegas. So all right, where are we at here? Oh my God, the second normal one. Okay, I'm not sure. Oh, were you just skimming around those various lives? Thank you, off-grid dwellers. Oh yeah, okay, basically a shelf that is both outside and inside. Thank you, I appreciate your ideas and explanation. I hope I help off-grid. It's hard to explain, but yeah, you start off with that shelf. And as far as the percentage inside and outside, I mean, there's no right answer. I always try to roughly approximate it about 50-50. You know, of course, I'm referring to the width of the, or the depth of the AC unit. So, So somebody, I don't remember who it was, but had a question about condensation from the AC unit. So I'm in the desert here and humidity's low. I've personally never had a condensation issue. But I do know that a lot of people in you know, particularly like in the US Southeast and stuff do. So every modern window AC unit I've seen is they don't have a drain in the pan. And the idea is the pan will collect water, and then as the fan spins, it'll kind of kick it up and aid in cooling down the condenser with an evaporative effect. However, there are, I've never personally had it, but my understanding is, what I've been told is, in very humid environments, sometimes these overflow. So when they make all these AC units, they actually make them, I don't know if you guys noticed, but this thing is actually not sitting flat. It actually tilts back a little bit. And when I put in these you know, kind of the shelf, I guess you would say, I put them back at a slight angle. And the idea would be is if that pan ever filled up with condensation, it would run out the backside. But when I put on the coating on the outside, I'll actually put the coating all on the inside here. That way, if there is ever any water or moisture that gets in there, it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna rot away the good. Obviously, that's not an ideal scenario. I've heard of a lot of people that, you know, you'll get the condensation built up, you know, they're parked and running it, and then they pack up things and drive away. Sometimes it splashes out. I think the biggest answer is just put it at a little bit of an angle, and then whatever the cavity is, if you were to build something like this, you know, where it's kind of contained as opposed to just sticking out the back, whatever the cavity is I would waterproof it in some way, because it's inevitable that you're probably going to get some water that drips out. Hope that helps. From all the different styles of campers you've built, what went right and what didn't right, and what ideas have you applied in avoiding in this build? Structure, cracks, weatherproofing. From all the different styles. Let's see. From all the different styles of campers you've built, what went right and what didn't right, and what ideas have you applied? So, you know, like lessons learned. I mean, that's a great question, and it's probably a dedicated video that I'd want to kind of sit down and you know, put some stuff down. You know, I've been fortunate. I've not had any dramatic failures, you know, to where I made something and it you know, just kind of went dramatically bad. But let's do this. I mean, let's compare and contrast 8.0, which was the wooden camper that I finished up last, and some of the design changes on this one. Now, obviously, this one is an entirely different kind of outside exterior, and that's not necessarily a condemnation of the wooden structure for 8.0. It's just a stylistic thing. So kind of take that aspect out for a minute there. So one of them was the vent fan. You know, 8.0 had a sloped roof. I'm just going to kind of lift this up in case there's some new people watching here. You know, this obviously has a pretty dramatically, you know, kind of a very swoopy design. And 8.0 had that too. I didn't put a big, you know, your standard 14-inch size rooftop vent fan in 8.0. Instead, I used I think they're 8-inch. They're the little circle ones. You typically see them in like an RV, you know, like a small vent for like a little bathroom or something. I put one of those in there, hoping that since that 8.0 camper was smaller, that would be sufficient. But you know, one thing I have learned is that the rooftop fans, and I mean, this is not rocket science. I think most of anyone who's been in a camper realizes, but those are, you know, they definitely are a big benefit in a lot of different circumstances. And so, you know, I am going to add one in here. The reason I didn't add a rooftop vent in 8.0 was because I didn't really want to disrupt that roof line. Now, it doesn't make 8.0 unusable. It's just something that, you know, if you're talking about kind of lessons learned, um, my takeaway is you can do without a rooftop fan, but it's really a nice thing to have, even for small campers. Um, so for this one, I talked about it briefly in the other one, but um, you know, accessibility on the interior. So obviously, I'm just working on the exterior now, but so for this one, for example, I'm going to put the fridge right here. It'll be on a countertop surface, and this is going to make it very accessible. One thing on 8.0 is the little fridge spot is underneath the bed. Again, it's usable. It's not a deal breaker, but it was something that you know, it's a little harder to get to. Now, I'll admit, I'm going to put the fridge, you know, right on the what will essentially be kind of like a countertop surface in here. You know, maybe I'll find that that's kind of, you know, takes up too much space, and I would rather have the counter space. It's possible, but that's one thing. Again, I've never had a dramatic failure with it, but you know, I've definitely had some campers to where there were flat spots on the roof. I think, again, this is common sense. This is not rocket science, but you know, I think from now on, even if it's not just for aesthetic purposes, I'm definitely going to try to put a lot more effort to making sure the roof sheds water properly. Now, I'm in the desert here, you know, so I know for people who get a lot of rain, this probably seems, you know, but like, you know, we literally get rain just a few times a year, so I'm what, you know, shedding water and stuff is not something that I think about a lot, but I am trying to kind of incorporate that a little bit more. Where I would have flat spots on the roof, you know, my thought process was that maybe I could park, you know, if I knew it was going to rain, or if it did rain, maybe I could park, you know, slightly tipping forward or back. But in retrospect, you know, those things are not ideal. Now, I'm not saying it's not doable to have a flat roof. I guess I guess that would be one lesson that I'm going to take. Even if the overall structure of the camper tends to have a flat roof, you know, maybe I might try to create just a very small little hump in the middle of it or something. I mean, that's a good question, and I'd have to sit down and think about it. But those are just a couple of the things that came off the top of my head. So tranny fluid, are you going to fiberglass the whole thing? I'm not, and I use I do a real thick coat. Well, it's many coats of a Durabac. I'll admit, fiberglass is probably you know, is probably in many ways a better method. It's just for a lot of aspects of this camper, it's just, number one, you got to enjoy making them, and I've done a fair share of my own fiberglass work, and it is not something that I enjoy. And number two is at least in my experience, and I've done some work, but I'm certainly don't consider myself a professional with fiberglass. It's really hard to get, even with the woven mat, to get it to lay just right, and especially on a lot of these angles and a lot of these corners. And that's one of those big advantages of the Durabac, is it can give you a very unique look that's hard to match with other methods. I'll make it clear here, I'm not advocating one way or the other for any of them. That's just the method I do, and the experience I do. Let's see, so I had a leak, found a knot in the wood that leaked through, so I sealed up the knot, and good to go. Yeah, I think any RV camper, you know, especially one that you make yourself, and I think that was a good question I asked, you know, about learning things, is it's pretty, you know, they're going to require maintenance, they're going to require inspections, and I mean, whether it's one you buy or one you make yourself, if you just, you know, throw it out in the yard and don't look at it for a year, you're probably gonna come up with some problem somewhere. So But yeah, one CM, back to your question about lessons learned. I'll sit and think about that, and I think that's a good topic for a video. But a couple of those comparison and contrast between 8.0 and 9.0. So, all right, I'm gonna get back to doing some more sanding. If we'll keep the live going, and if you guys have any questions, pop them up, and I'll come and check the feed here in a few minutes. And thanks again for everybody who is tuning in. Let's get back to it. So what I'm doing, if you guys are curious, is this upper swoop here. So I'm doing something kind of it's probably unusual, but I used a construction adhesive, which is not unusual to attach that 1/4-inch ply, and I left a little bit of the squeeze out. Now I would take, I buy these, I don't remember what you call them, these little disposable squeegee things. You know, mostly people use this for Bondo or something like that. But I buy these, and when I had that squeeze out where I bonded the roof pieces here to this side piece, and pretty much all of the joints in here, I would actually take this and pull it like that, and I wouldn't worry about making it too perfect because I knew I'd go back and sand it. But I've actually found that's a pretty good method to filling in some of the small gaps and imperfections. And I think it also seals up some of those ingrained. I've never had any notable issues of separation between the pieces, and I've pretty much always done something like that, and it's worked out pretty well. I don't know if I just got lucky, that's possible, but so anyways, long story short though, what the sanding is right now is I'm just cleaning up some of that squeeze out. Now I'm mostly sanding on a vertical surface, but you want to be careful. You don't want to go too aggressive because you don't want to affect the inline of that seam. So if you look right here, if you imagine looking down that, you don't want this to start getting wavy. So you just take it easy, take your time. If you guys noticed, I would stop and I would look down the line of it to make sure it didn't get a little cattywampus, as they would say. So that's where all this finish work just takes time. And probably for at least the next week. I still have to make the door. That'll probably take me about a day to get that done. But for about the next week, is I'm just going to be going through, just methodically smoothing some stuff out. I will use a wood filler. I've got two different types. I've got one that has some fiberglass strands in it for some of the bigger places that I need to repair, and then Bondo makes a Bondo branded wood filler, and it's a brown color, but it really performs just like standard Bondo. And I'll use that as kind of my finishing layer. But right now, I'm just taking down the big stuff and doing some of the rough stuff and trying to get in there. So I'm gonna put the sander to. I think I pretty much got that edge about where I want it with that grit of sandpaper where I'm at now. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start cleaning up some of this. So actually, here's a great example. Let me just show you guys here. So, you know, I mean, this isn't pretty now. I'm gonna sand it up, but like, I think you guys can see, this is some of that construction adhesive. When I put this together, I just kind of left the squeeze out there. Now I did go through and smooth it out, but as it cures, it kind of expands a little bit. Now one thing I found is if you lay that out too thick, it can kind of bubble. and you don't want that, and it's best to just cut out that. So like let's see if this shows up. So right here, I don't know if you guys noticed, I took out my pocket knife when I was sanding this. This was a little bit of a bubble, so I actually just kind of cut around that. Of course, I'll go back and fill it. Now this isn't perfect finish right here, but you guys can see that that stuff sands down pretty darn smooth. If you guys look right there. Any guesses as to what it weighs right now? So let's see. Last time I weighed it, it was it about 240? And then, you know, I added some of the pieces on the front here. I don't know. It's probably about 260 right now, which is not bad. I mean, when you consider, you know, it's most of the campers in place. You know, now it's definitely heavier than in the one video where I was able to pick up the frame with one hand. I also have the AC sitting in here, and I've been stowing some other parts for this up there. But yeah, the whole structure right now is probably about 260. Like I said, I'm trending about 20 to 40 pounds lighter than 8.0, which came out at 490 pounds. I think this will, I'm expecting this will come in, you know, probably right around that 500-pound mark, maybe a little under. But as she sits, assuming I hit that goal, this is probably about half the weight. Again, keep in mind I do have some stuff stowed away on the inside, so that's adding some weight. But it's probably about half the weight of what its combined total end weight will be. So it's trending really light. All right, so let me get this set up there. And we'll start doing some sanding on this box here. All right. The thing I do want to do is remove those seats. these little pads on here that hold these little 5-inch sanding discs. These can kind of get worn out or kind of crudted up. This one I got to replace here soon, so we're just barely getting by. It's funny, some of these tools I use so much that you know, I have a little boneyard of cordless tools that I've broke. I've went through 2 DeWalt random orbit sanders. I had to pull out the Milwaukee one. To be honest with you, I actually prefer the DeWalt ones. I mean, this is good. This isn't bad. I just I do like the DeWalt ones, but I broke both of those. I think it's probably at least on one of them, I think it's probably a faulty switch, so maybe I can take it apart and figure it out. And what I broke, how many now? 3 18 gauge brad nailers. My Milwaukee one, which hurt a little bit, but it lasted a long time. That one failed. I had kind of that off-brand, that Linkno one, which was a Chinese branded one I got for a review. I actually really liked that one. That one was super light. It had some, I did a review on it, had some limitations, but I actually legitimately enjoyed that one. But that finally took a crap. That didn't bother me too much though, because that made it through 2 campers. And yeah, it's just funny when you're spending this amount of time working on stuff, you can definitely see, you know, stuff starts breaking. My beloved Ryobi table saw here. I know a lot of you guys probably look at this and think it's a big piece of junk, but this is my beloved table saw. This is the Ryobi. I think it's the BT 3100. This thing has been with me over 20 years, and this thing has been doing good. The switch is acting up a little bit. I'm gonna have to take that apart, but I jumped on the marketplace, the Facebook marketplace, and I found another good shape pre-owned Ryobi. It was the BT 3000, so it was one generation before this, the one I have, and I found it for $100. So I went ahead and bought one just in case, because I think, I mean, the table saw I've had is, you know, like I said, it's over 21 years old, and it's got a lot of work. What joint get bigger? I don't know what you're talking about. What joint gets bigger? Cups. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. So, all right. Well, let's get back to sanding, and we'll go again. And thanks again for everybody tuning in right now. Let's come back to here. That's a pretty good image. Johnny, it's a camper. It's a truck camper. Johnny was asking what I'm working on. So that's the back there. This is an air conditioner will sit inside of here. There'll be little vents on the side of here. There'll be a little door that you open up. Yep, that's right. It's a slide-in. Let me take this camera off and I'll walk over here and you guys can get a better view of what it looks like here. Let me get my fat face out of this. Let's see. Sorry guys, this camera's got some limitations, but now it's obviously in the works of being finished, but there you go. So this is where the cab of the pickup would be. I don't know, does that look like, you guys get a sense for what that looks like? Let's see, DJ, oh man, that would be perfect for a little over-island trailer for my Jeep. Yeah. Thanks, buddy, I appreciate it. Hey, DJ, did you just find this live as you were scrolling through the shorts on YouTube? And 1CM King, what was the final weight of 8.0? 8.0 came in at 490 pounds. 490 pounds. So I expect this camper to probably weigh about the same amount. Now that 490 pounds, that did not include the weight of whatever batteries I used. and it did not include the weight of my little refrigerator. So, you know, probably as 8.0 is, you know, loaded up with batteries in the refrigerator and my personal belongings, it's probably coming in, you know, closer to that 700-pound mark, I'm guessing. But the camper itself was $490. That did include the AC unit, though. So, all right. So let's keep going with some sanding here. Let's slide this down a little bit. There we go. You know, Sam, I don't know if you mentioned it. What did your camper weigh? If you mentioned it someplace, I apologize. I just don't remember. Mine is about 600 pounds. Yeah, I really like that. You did a great job on that one. I'm guessing it's probably a little kind of like about the height of this, where you can't quite stand up, but not far. DJ, no, I won't. I won't fiberglass this one. I was talking about that a little bit earlier. I use a polyurethane-based coating called Durabac, and I'll put a bunch of coats on it, and that's how I'll protect the exterior of this. 1 cm, 4 foot. Yeah, I got you. I raised it to 5 foot. Okay, yeah. You know, that's a good height. I think yours looked really nice. You did a really wonderful job. It fits in the drive-through. That's absolutely right. I'm trying to remember. You had you had an F-152, I think, if I recall, right? And I apologize, buddy. I'm sorry. I know you just sent me the email. I think it was an F-150, if I remember correctly. Oh, Chevy Colorado. Oh, that's right. My bad. That's right. Chevy Colorado. That's right. You did a wonderful job. I'm going to stop trying to guess. I keep getting everything wrong here. Yeah. let's get back to it. Oh, well, I appreciate the credit there, 1CM. Thank you so much. Yeah, as far as those cedar campers definitely attract people. It is nice. Um, yeah, it's a nice little journey. Kind of to the. Oh, sorry for the audience out there. 1CM King made his own truck camper, and he did a wonderful job. As a side note, and he had a comment here, and the reason I'm summarizing these comments because if someone watches this later, they can't see these comments as far as I could tell. And he said the best part I like is just meeting people along the way who ask about it, and he's referring to his camper, which leads into where they're from and who they are. Yeah, and kind of to the point of making your own truck campers. I think a lot of people get into it because of very practical reasons, which is fine. They maybe they don't want to spend the money, or they want something very specific, and they want to make their own. And I'm going to assume that most of these people enjoy woodworking or however they make it, and the satisfaction of building their own things. And all those things are very positive points about making your own camper. But what you'll find is it kind of is a lot more than that. It's a community. I don't know if I know people have made their own campers for a long time. I don't know if the trend is growing or if it's staying the same. But it's a community of people out there who make them, and the same thing. That's why whenever somebody like yourself makes their own, I always say share pictures with me, because I love to see what other people's ideas are. And I'll tell you this: at this point in time, me making campers is way more than just the practicality of it. It's really a neat thing, and I think my point of going to this conversation is you brought that up. It's I'm sure if somebody has a commercial made camper, sometimes they get stopped too, but you drive something up that nobody's ever seen before, and there's only one of them in the world. That's your camper. That's what you made. That came from your own mind. That came from your own hands. There's something natural about that. There's something visceral about that. That's beyond just making one of these bad boys to keep you dry. It's something more than that. I'm glad you brought that up. So, you guys get a sense for how much finish sanding this is, but it's looking a little bit more together here. I'm gonna do a few more things with the sander, but I won't shy away from taking out the my hand, sanding by hand for a while just to make sure. Yeah, I like this shape. Super strong too. Definitely the strongest one I've made. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? You want to call it for tonight? And I'll try to. What are we at today? What's today? Wednesday. Maybe I'll try to pop in on Friday or something and do another one. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate all of you watching, and I hope you're all doing well. And if you have the means and capability, I hope you guys can all enjoy the positive benefits of building something on your own, whether it's as big as a camper or, as small as, a smaller project. So, you're welcome, DJ. All right, guys. All of you guys have a good night, and I'll try to tune in on Friday again. All right? Talk to you guys later.